You're listening to 93.3 WMMR. It is Marcus, and on the phone with me is a rocker who was born in the Valilla district of Helsinki, Finland. He's been in bands since he was 10 years old. His current band has been together since 1991, and they have 7 studio records out, including their latest, Screamworks Love in Theory and Practice, chapters 1 through 13. They are kicking off their U.S. tour at the Factory in Philly tonight. It is my pleasure to welcome to you the lead vocalist of him, Ville Valo. Ville, thanks a lot for taking time to chat.
A pleasure, sir. The only thing you forgot to mention is that I've done everything in the list, and I'm only 33.
I didn't know if you were shy about your age or not. I didn't know if it was appropriate to mention the age or not.
To be honest with you, I don't know either. I'm not sure whether you should be talking about age when you're a musician or not, but occasionally it feels kind of random that we've actually we've achieved a lot with the band, considering.
You've been playing music since you were 10 years old, so...
Well, so have the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
We played in different bands together before we formed him. I played drums with a band that had Linde, a guitar player on guitars and stuff like that. So we knew of each other, and we knew each other, and had played together too.
How did you guys all come together to form him in 1991?
I guess it was one of the things that the school didn't really suit us, or we didn't feel that there was anything that we really wanted to study. You can't study rock and roll. So we just thought that maybe we just give it one last shot, sort of like put all our energy into the band or into a band and in music in general, see how far it can take us. Well, it's taken us pretty far. At
such a young age to take a shot like that and to stick with it, that's pretty impressive, and that takes a lot of passion. And do you remember, speaking of passion, do you remember when you were younger a song or a musical moment that impacted your life in such a way where you were like, I'm going to do that forever?
Not really. I never made a decision in my mind that I want to become a musician or that it's something I definitely want to do till the day I die. There's been a lot of songs I loved, like we're hearing, Jane's Addiction's Ritual de la Habitual for the first time, or listening to Soundgarden or Alice in Chains. I was into a lot of grungy things in the early 90s, or Bad Brains. I wouldn't say that there was one. There was a lot of songs around. I've always been liking different kinds of music, so I like the poppy 80s stuff, like Madonna's Live to Tell was a big song for me, and some Duran Duran songs and Aha songs. And then on the other hand, it was like Wasp and Twisted Sister, Iron Maiden, bands like that. I was always trying to listen to all kinds of stuff, and it all had an influence on what we're doing today.
Your latest album is called Screamworks, Love in Theory and Practice, chapters 1 through 13. How did you develop the concept for the album? How did you come up with the title, and why did you put it together the way you did?
Well, the titles just happened. We've always had a bit of a yin and yang vibe in the title. We've had Dark Light and Greatest Love Songs Volume 666 and Razor Blade Romance and all that stuff. So there's always been the dark element and then the light element. And with Screamworks, I wanted to bring those two things closer together, talk about the title of the album. It was just, everybody should know Edward Monk's great painting, The Scream.
Yeah.
So that's one of the influential things, just talking about the cathartic scream of life and transgression. And, when you just the Queen has a song called I Want to Break Free. And it was so similar sort of a thing. You want to break free of shackles and chains, of whatever the shackles and chains are that restrict you to do whatever it is you do in your life and become free for a moment. So kind of cry for help at the same time. So all that had something to do with the title. It just happened really organically. And same as with music. After a long tour, after the previous album, Venus Doom, I sat down back home and picked up the acoustic guitar, and I had a few ideas and started working on them and played them to the rest of the guys, and all of a sudden we had an album in our hands. It happens very organically. I flew over to L.A. to meet a few producers and then really hit it off with Matt Squire and then ended up working with him on the album, and we had a great time while doing it, and now here we are touring it. And today's the first gig of the Screamworks tour. So here in the States. So it's been 2.5 years since we started this particular project. So we'll see how it ends. Usually in tears.
Why tears?
oh, why not?
I'll tell you what, the album flows really well. It's really smooth. It's got a nice groove to it. I like the way it flows. I've had a chance to listen to it a couple times through. Why did you record it in L.A.? Because one thing that I noticed when I was listening to it and reading over the liner notes, it did not have an L.A. feel at all to it. It has more of a, I guess, European feel as far as the groove goes. At least that's what I got out of it.
Well, we're a European band, and then again, my squire's from D.C., so and he grew up listening to a lot of stuff I grew up listening to, Depeche Mode and The Cult. And, well, then again, Guns N' Roses and a lot of American stuff, too. But as a producer, he knows his European stuff really well. And it's tough to say. It's probably 50-50 between U.S. influences and European influences. So I think it all plays part. It's nothing that we would sit around a table before an album is made and make decisions, like have board meetings that, we want the album to have a European feel or we want it to have a Californian feel or whatever. It's something you can't decide beforehand. And, I wrote the songs back on tour and then in Helsinki, where I lived, and we recorded it in California. So maybe there's some kind of like a mixture of a bit of the California sunshine and then the kind of doom and gloom of Helsinki.
Is it really that dark and gloomy in Helsinki?
Yeah, it is.
Really?
Most of the year. It's like Alaska, but without snow. It's like if you've seen the vampire flick, that came out a couple of years back, was it 30 Days a Night? That's how it is in the middle of winter. So the sun doesn't come up at all, and then during the middle of the summer, the sun doesn't go down at all. So it's all like 24 hours of light.
Makes for some interesting parties, I'm sure.
It does. Yeah, but they grow old, after the first 25 years.
Yeah.
So
your first single that you released is Heart Killer. We're playing it. Could you tell us how that song came to be? Was there an influence? Was there an incident that occurred that maybe got the trigger going or got the ball rolling for you to write that song?
It's always like a piece in the puzzle for me, more or less. I might have pieces or bits and bobs of the puzzle somewhere in my drawer for years, and it just takes that last little push for it to actually become whole. After I'd met Matt Squire, so I wrote the chorus in Los Angeles, in the room 332 in the Sunset Marquee. And then the guitar riff I wrote back home. And we just put it together a couple of weeks before we actually entered the studio. And occasionally working on a song, it just happens super fast. I had let's say I had a great muse. I had a great person to write that song for. So maybe it was her fault in a way that it kind of like found its own pace and its vibe and its glorious vibe, in such a short period of time. It's very different because then again there's a song called Disarm Me with Your Loneliness, and I started working on that one back in 2001 or 2002. So it's taken 9 years to get that song done. So occasionally it takes ages, and occasionally it takes, no time at all.
And another song that stood out to me on the record was Like St. Valentine. I really like that song as well.
Basically, I was just reading about saints. It doesn't actually have anything to do with Valentine's Day, per se, for me. It's more about the concept of love and the kind of idea that happiness is, family with 2 kids, a house in a nice suburb, and I don't find that to be my idea of heaven on earth. Maybe for me, in my own head, it's more about let's say, the pressures of society or what society wants people to be. What is heaven on earth for in society's eyes these days? I don't know what it is. It keeps on changing, but and then the fact that there's several saints that have the name Valentine, but all of them were killed because of their benevolent purposes of trying to, let's say, marry a couple, and that wasn't cool back in the day. So they were beheaded and killed, and there's a lot of interesting history, especially Christian history. There's a lot of violence involved.
Yeah, if you look through the history of Europe and the Crusades and the marches and some of the things that happened, the Christians were very violent back then.
Indeed, and then the conquistadors, coming over and killing all of South America, so it's ridiculous.
Were you raised in a religious family?
I wasn't, no. My mother does belong in the church, but my dad doesn't, so he's not baptized, and they decided, as I think that as every, person that's born on the earth should decide wherever you want to put your soul, when you turn 18. I think it takes a while to That's what my parents told me, that I have the right to make my own decision, whatever I feel comfortable with. And I guess I'm still searching, There's a lot of good things in, let's say, the Bible, but the organized part of it, and especially now, if you check out in what kind of a corner the current German Pope has put himself into. And I'm quite sure at one point that, this is like a TV series. I'm sure, because I think that the Pope's, it was a relative working in one of the churches. He was involved somehow. I'm pretty sure the Pope is involved too. And that would be the greatest TV drama ever. And if he's done anything wrong, if he's done something wrong, he should step down. Obviously, because we're talking about religion. We're talking about he being the leading character for like 1 billion Catholics, or whatever it is, the amount of people who belong in the Catholic Church. It's kind of weird that you have a criminal, as your leader, as your vessel between the mankind and God. But I'm not saying that he's a criminal, until it's otherwise proven. It's like an OJ type of thing.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this, and hopefully the people involved will do the right thing, and that's all that we can hope for out of that.
Indeed, very well put. I don't. Whatever makes people happy, as long as it doesn't hurt the other, the man next to you.
Yeah.
So I'm exactly. I'm on the same terms when it comes to doing the right thing.
Was it easy for you to pick up English?
Yeah, well, we grew up watching American and British TV, so I think that's a huge reason. Musically, I think that we didn't have a choice, because we knew that Finland's such a tiny country. You can't really tour around Finland forever. So singing in Finnish. So we knew we wanted to do the thing in English, and had high hopes to be able to be internationally well known one day. But back in Scandinavia, we don't dub anything as they do in, for example, Germany. That everything's dubbed. So we watch everything, like the Disney things, or we have back in the day, Knight Rider, David Hasselhoff. That was a big show back in the 80s, and so all that stuff is in the original language with subtitles. So we grow up, listening to a lot of English. So for me, it was like Jeremy Brett doing his Sherlock Holmes. That was, I think, a BBC series, a British one, and then David Hasselhoff. So I think that those were my two mentors when it comes to the fabulous language of viewers.
You created the heartogram on your 20th birthday. Had you been working on the design before, over a period of time, or did it just kind of happen that day?
To be honest with you, I can't really remember. It's been, 13 years ago, approximately. 13 and a half years, about that. But I always draw things, and I work on visual things, and, I was working on a logo or a symbol, but, and I still do have the original somewhere, and it is actually very close to the one we use today. So, no. I remember the fact that I drew it down, and I knew immediately that I want to call it heartogram. I think it's just one of the things that subconsciously, the subconscious mind was working on that idea for a long time, and I was drawing different things down, and it just needed this specific right moment for it to happen. And I'm kind of glad that it happened on the birthday. It's easy to remember. It's one of the things that is very fascinating, such a simple thing to draw down, and how well it's traveled, all across the globe ever since. It's kind of magnificent, and definitely the best thing I've done.
And I'm sure that you love seeing pictures of those tattoos posted on the Facebook page and on your website and all that as well.
It's fascinating how I don't, you really rarely think in the terms that I drew that thing down originally. I don't consider it like that. I consider it picture to be everybody's, more or less. And, tattoos and T-shirts and posters and whatever, people drawing it, and, on their skateboard decks or whatever. It's just... It's just ridiculously entertaining to watch.
Well, tonight you're going to be kicking off your tour in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. What can people expect from this tour?
Oh, Lord. Well, it hasn't begun yet. Yeah. We have a great bunch of support acts. We have Drive A. We have Damin, with whom we toured with in the UK and Europe just a couple of days back. And we just flew from that part of the tour. And Damin are great. Then there's going to be We Are the Fallen, Ben Moody's new band. So it's going to be, musically it's going to be entertaining. At least for us, it's going to be us playing a lot of songs of the new album, and then mixed up with a bunch of the old tracks. We're still not like Rammstein that we would have. We could talk for hours about pyros. It's not. We don't have that kind of a show. So it's about the music. It's also about us trying to find out what people prefer, because in different countries and different states, it seems that there are different people appreciate different songs. by the band him. So we're trying to figure out what's the best balance between the new stuff and the old stuff, and then the really, really old stuff. So trying to figure out the set. I think that's what it's going to be all about. And then we do have a challenge because Diamond are really good live, and I'm pretty sure that We Are the Fauna are going to be really, really good live. So
Ben Moody's a great songwriter.
He's definitely. So I don't know what we're going to do. Just use tons of dry ice, I guess.
Nice. When you do a tour like this, do you get a chance to get out and do a little bit of touring and visiting the cities that you play in?
It depends. Like, I think like we're playing Baltimore tomorrow. So it's like we're staying overnight here in Philadelphia. We're leaving in the afternoon of Baltimore, driving straight to the gig, doing the sound check, maybe doing an interview too, hanging out for a bit, playing the gig, and driving off to the next place, which I guess is Boston. So occasionally it's like really the old school in and out trick. So it's really, really quick. Then again, occasionally we do have the extra couple of hours or so, and then it's a question of in which shape you are. You know, because the reason why we're here is to play gigs, and when it's five guys, there's always somebody's got the flu, or somebody's just tired, or somebody's whatever. And for me as a singer, I'd rather just take a long bath, run a bath to just like sweat it all out, be in a hot room, do nothing that would destroy the voice for the evening. So I got to be like a bit extra careful just to make sure that it all works, because you know it's not a good excuse when you walk on a stage to say that, hey, I just visited all the greatest museums, but I also got a cold, so I can't really sing for you, but I can tell you all about the Edgar Allan Poe's house. So it doesn't work that way. Or like, I went to this great bar and there was this. You can tell only so many bar jokes. A man walks into a bar type of thing.
Now, did you visit the Edgar Allan Poe house while you were here the last couple of days?
Actually, I haven't.
Okay.
No, we'll see what happens. We just want to get rid of jet lag, get the set in order, see that technically everything is okay. It takes a while for the machine to be well oiled enough. Again, occasionally it happens in 24 hours. Occasionally it takes 5 days. But that's what we're here for. We'll see how the music goes, and then when the music is all sorted, then we can just go to the crazy museums or the bars or whatever.
Now, for my last question, when I finish with radio, I would like to teach history of rock and roll to college students.
Whoa.
At some point, I'm going to teach about him. How do I teach him? How do you want to be remembered in the rock and roll sphere?
Well, it's tough. I think that, we've never been one of the rock bands that always been laughing at ourselves, understanding that, it's not deadly serious what we're doing. It is important for us. We do take music seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. And I think that that's fairly important in the realm of rock and roll, especially nowadays. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel or, reinventing gunpowder or, we're utilizing great bits and bobs people have done in the past, more or less. You can call it ripping off if you want to. I don't think so. We're just utilizing tools to put our own emotions into music and, melodies and lyrics. So that's one of the key themes for him, I'd say. And the other one being that we've never been afraid to admit that we like all kinds of music. We're not just full-blown lederhosen metal band. Or, I love Cradle of Filth, but I love Madonna. Yeah. I love dub reggae, and I like Roger Allen Wade. I like all kinds of music, and I think that that's a strength as well. It's like, it's one of the things that Sun Tzu who said in his book, The Arts of War, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. So that's very true when it comes to music. You should always just learn as much about music as you can, because the more you know, the better. And the more you know, the better you know the things you don't like about music. But if you're not well educated in whatever you do, not well educated, then you just don't know what you're talking about.
Great answer. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm trying my best.
And I'm going to let you go because I know you want to definitely probably take that hot bath and relax before you take stage tonight.
That is my plan. The water is running.
Get some hot tea as well. Go full British and get some hot tea, too.
I'm working on it. Yeah, well, all right. Good stuff.
Excellent. Well, I will see you at the meet and greet at 8:30. And, again, thanks a lot for taking time today. So I will see you tonight.
A pleasure, sir.
It was a pleasure as well, and I will talk to you later.
Cool.
Peace out. Bye, Ville.
Excellent. All right. Later. Bye.
You're listening to 93.3 WMMR, Everything That Rocks. I'm Marcus. Thanks a lot for listening. Check out their new CD, Screamworks. It is a solid rocker. And, of course, you can always get more information at WMMR.com.